Dr. Jeffrey Halstead has been Canandaigua's hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. Visit them online at canandaiguadentistry.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you want to know what's happening in the Finger Lakes? We do too. We're going in depth with decision makers in the heart of upstate New York to get the answers you need. From the team of FingerLakes1.com, this is Inside the FLX.
All right, welcome back to Inside the FLX. It is time for our monthly chat with Chris Lajewski from the Montezuma Audubon Center. Chris, welcome back to the studio. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Josh.
So the first thing I noticed when you sent over the topics you wanted to talk about today was the word autumn. And that's where we're starting. Yes, it's July 24th, but we're talking about the autumn migration in some way, shape, or form. Fill us in there on what's going on with the shorebirds.
Shorebirds are the first species or suite of birds that venture southbound to their wintering areas. And the autumn migration for these groups of sandpipers, plovers, yellowlegs, and others actually could be as early as late June, but for us here in the Finger Lakes, it's early to mid-July. We are already seeing the fall migrants heading south. They're going to venture down to Central and South America for the winter. They were breeding way up in the Arctic tundra, northern Alaska, northern Canada. The birds that we're seeing right now are generally adults. With some species of shorebirds, one adult will stay with the chicks up in the Arctic to help with the rearing, helping them to understand habitat, where to go for food, and seek shelter. The other adult will venture south, flock up with other shorebirds, and start working their way southbound. We're starting to see yellowlegs, sandpipers, plovers, and other shorebirds coming through. If people are interested in looking for early migratory shorebirds, they can go to shallow water areas, shallow marshes, not deep lakes, not deep ponds, so water that might be 2-3 inches deep. Shorebirds are typically long-legged birds, long-billed birds, great for catching crustaceans, fish, aquatic worms, other invertebrates. So yeah, here we are, dog days of summer, the hottest time of the year for us in the FLX.
Yeah.
Fall migration has begun.
That's tough. That's tough to hear, but it's coming. Fall is coming here. Species Spotlight, yellowlegs, you mentioned them. Talk to us a little more about them. That is our Species Spotlight for this month.
There's actually two species of yellowlegs I wanted to highlight, and because they are one of the earliest migratory shorebirds, wanted to highlight both the lesser yellowlegs and the greater yellowlegs. Now, lesser yellowlegs, typically about 10 inches tall, long yellow-legged birds with a bill that's about 2 inches long, so great for shallow water environments, catching those crustaceans and macroinvertebrates in the water. They're mostly a light-colored bird, mostly white, but the wings are more of a dark gray color. Obviously, the yellow legs really stand out. And they have a song that's a series of 2 notes. Now, the greater yellowlegs, as you would expect, is slightly larger. It's about 14 inches tall, same general plumage, dark gray, almost black wings, kind of some barring on the chest and the belly. They just noticeably stand taller than the lesser yellowlegs, and the bill can also be longer, about 3 inches or so long, and slightly curved upward. Now, when you just see one of these birds alone, it's challenging to differentiate, is it a lesser yellowlegs or greater yellowlegs, but when they're standing side by side, you can notice that height differential and the bill length. Now, with the greater yellowlegs, the other thing that's different from the lesser is that it has a call that's like a series of 3 notes compared to the lesser's 2 notes.
And the interesting thing here, I guess, is the timing. Is this a pass-through? Like, what's the window that we're talking about? So now, I would assume, is the right time, but how much time is there to catch these? Like, when is sort of the gone date?
Yeah, we're just at the start of shorebird migration. Now is the time when people can get out to the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, visit us at Montezuma Audubon Center in Savannah, just a short 10-minute drive north of the refuge, to see these and other shorebirds. The peak of shorebird migration typically is in September. And then by October, early mid-October, then most of the shorebirds have already passed on through the Finger Lakes region and are venturing their way down to Central and South America, where they're going to utilize similar habitats. It'll be marsh habitats and coastal areas.
Sure. So there's time. There's plenty of time. My species spotlight that I'm bringing to you is the wood duck, an interesting looking critter. Talk to us a little bit about that one.
Wood duck is one of my favorite duck species, so kudos to you for bringing that up here this week. The male wood duck is spectacular. It's like the rainbow colored duck. Just look at all those colors. That bird is spectacular, just about every color of the rainbow. The wood duck is a species that nests in cavities, holes in trees. And being a larger bird species, it utilizes larger holes in trees. So swamps are great places to find this species. It's one of the few duck species that breeds regularly in the Finger Lakes and Montezuma Wetlands Complex. We have an abundant number of wood ducks breeding, the mallard being the other common duck species that we see breeding in Montezuma. And being a kind of a swamp forested bird, it will eat vegetation, but it will also eat acorns and other larger nuts that can be found in forested areas. The female of the species is more of a drab brown color, unique in that the female, has that white teardrop over the eye that the male does not have. This time of year, throughout the Finger Lakes region, in swamp and even lake habitats, you can find the females, adults, with 6 to as many as a dozen chicks. The males will typically hang out with other males. So females do the rearing, males hang out, refuel, get ready for their migratory journey down to the southeast United States.
You mentioned that they're common for this region. Is this a species of duck that people are overlooking, perhaps, in terms of they're seeing it, but they aren't necessarily recognizing it the way they would recognize, say, a mallard, which is sort of a very common look, or what people think, oh, that's a duck? Because I have to say, when I saw it a couple weeks ago up near the bay in Webster, I couldn't recall a time when I had seen a bird like that before. It was a male, but it seems like especially the females would be have a look that could be just overlooked and not necessarily like spotted out. Like, oh,
you're right. Yeah, the female looks a lot like the female mallard duck, and if people are not taking a close eye at the look at the field mark, especially that white teardrop over the eye, they might just think it's a mallard. But the unique look of the male is unlike anything else we have right here, and really at any time of the year in the Finger Lakes region.
It's really cool stuff. Let's talk about the tricolored heron. I'm assuming that's a spotting out there at the wildlife refuge. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is a rare bird sighting for the Montezuma Wetlands Complex. Broadly, the 50,000 acres that we have. This tricolored heron has been seen now for the last couple weeks down along the wildlife drive at the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge. This is rare. It's typically found along the Gulf Coast areas. Sometimes it'll come up to the coastal Carolinas and Virginia. So this is well inland and well north of its normal breeding area. Can't say for certain why this bird is here. However, the sightings coincide with Hurricane Beryl coming up from the Gulf Coast states. So it's a possibility that the bird got caught in the wind of that hurricane and was transported northbound. And then once it was able to get out of that wind, was looking for a large, intact, healthy environment to reside in as it rested and refueled before heading back south. And of course, the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, National Wildlife Refuge in particular, is a great spot with ample habitat, food, and healthy water. This is a slender bird. It's a little bit smaller than a great blue heron. The tricolored name comes from the fact that it has blue and lavender on the head and the neck and the back of the wings. The belly area is noticeably white in color. Has a long bill, so you're going to find this species right now along Wildlife Drive at the National Wildlife Refuge in one of those first shallow water marsh habitats. Sometimes it's on the right side in what we call Seneca Flats.
Yeah.
Other times it's over in the main pool on the left side of Wildlife Drive. This bird is eating fish primarily. People are coming out from all over New York State and beyond to see this species. This is a rare visitor for us at Montezuma. Not certain how long it's going to be with us. It could be here for another couple weeks. It could be here for another couple months. But rare bird sighting and really interesting species.
Eventually, the bird will get back on track and get back to where it's intended to go, right? That is how that usually plays out?
In all likelihood, the bird will reconfigure its GPS unit in its head and find its way back to a coastal area where it'll spend the winter months. But we've seen this before in other species that have come up from the south with tropical systems. I think back 3 years ago when a wood stork and roseate spoonbill were found in another section of the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge. They were with us for about a month and a half to 2 months, just feeding and resting, and then venturing, back to its normal range.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about a couple programs coming up, including paddling opportunities. You guys have had tons of paddling opportunities as of late out at the Montezuma property, but you've also got one happening out at Onondaga Lake. Talk to us about that one first.
Yeah, coming up here on August 14th, we're doing a sunset paddle. This will be starting at 6 o'clock in the evening. This is one of our favorite events. It's one of our most popular events. It always sells out. This is great for the entire family, and it's wonderful for novice paddlers who don't have their own equipment. People can rent boats, paddles, and life jackets from us, but they can also bring their own gear if they would like. We launch into 9 Mile Creek, one of the main tributaries of Onondaga Lake along the west shore, and it's a leisurely mile paddle down to the mouth of 9 Mile into Onondaga Lake. And once we're down there at the lake, we're exploring the restored wetlands, the shoreline, bald eagles, osprey, shorebirds, early migratory duck species can be found there, and many songbirds are also down in that area. Being sunset, it's a wonderful time to be out exploring. Birds and other wildlife are getting one last meal in before hunkering down for the evening. This is going to sell out.
Oh, yeah.
We know that. And we wanted to highlight that today because we want to give people an opportunity to register, check their calendars, and they can go to the Onondaga Lake Conservation Corps website to register for this and all of our events through the Corps. That website is ny.audubon.org/OLCC.
And act quickly because those slots will fill up. Montezuma Sunset Paddle happening the next day, August 15th. Same time, 6 p.m. What's going on there?
That's right. We're once again partnering with our friends at Rivers Crossing Campground and Marina at Mays Point, which is on Route 89, just north of the Thruway. We love paddling from Rivers Crossing because after a quick venture through the main Erie Canal, we get into what's one of the main and original channels of the Clyde River. This is a very sinuous, very natural looking section of the Clyde River that was not enlarged and deepened and straightened when the Erie Canal was constructed back in 1925. And so back there in the main channel of Clyde River, we see bald eagles. There's a huge nest that we paddle right next to, and we've been watching the two eaglets all summer long from this area as they've grown within the nest, but then once they were large enough to start flying around with their parents, learning how to be wild bald eagles, we've been enjoying them flying around and hunting in the Clyde River as well as in the nearby marshes. Again, great opportunity for the whole family. We will provide all of the gear if folks don't have their own kayak, paddle, and life jacket. But again, people are welcome to bring their own if they'd like. So for this, we're asking people to go to the Montezuma Audubon Center website. Now, I know you've got the link for that, but people can go to montezuma.audubon.org and click on our programs and events button to register for this one.
Absolutely. And you can click on the links right in the show notes and on the website, fingerlakes1.com. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, right in the article, there are two links that bring you to the registration pages of each of these events. Let's talk about the 4 killdeer that were hatched from one of the nests on the Montezuma Audubon Center parking lot. There's a nest in the parking lot.
Yes.
And we had killdeer hatch. Talk to us.
That's right. Killdeer is technically a shorebird, so you can find it in beach areas, coastal areas. Lake Ontario and the Finger Lakes areas are great places to see them. However, they're really not picky in terms of where they nest. You can find them in your mulched flower beds, excavating out just a small bowl and laying typically 4 eggs. Gravel parking lots are also a great place to see them, and every year for the last 10 years, they've nested at Montezuma Audubon Center in our gravel parking lot. So over the last month, we've been keeping an eye on this nest. We first noticed it because an adult killdeer was hanging out near this area, and we were slowly and very carefully looking at this area of the gravel parking lot, being careful because those nests and the eggs blend in so well with the gravel that's around there, and the bird itself blends in so well. Once we located the nest and those 4 eggs, we put a traffic cone right next to it so that vehicles coming in to visit us didn't destroy the nest and the eggs. And female did a great job of taking care of the eggs, incubating them for about 3 weeks. And just over the last couple of days, we had hatching. So now we're enjoying the female adult plus 4 young birds of the killdeer species, kind of just wandering around our gravel lot, and sometimes they come up on the lawn and feeding and resting. So killdeer at Montezuma Audubon Center, it's definitely midsummer.
They picked the right parking lot. Of all the parking lots they could have chosen, that is definitely the right one to choose. You guys are looking for ambassadors. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the MAC ambassadors, as we call them, are the frontline greeters at Montezuma Audubon Center. These are volunteers who have the same passion for birds and conservation that we have as a staff. And we, as a nonprofit, we're always looking for volunteer support. We are currently looking for ambassadors to greet visitors at Montezuma Audubon Center, answer the phones, direct people to our trails that we have at the center, but then also to other areas that people can explore around the 50,000-acre Montezuma Wetlands Complex. Now, we provide all the training for ambassadors. People don't really need to know much about birds. They just need to be enthusiastic and welcoming and friendly. And so we do have a great core group of volunteers already, but with the summer season going on, it's a little bit harder to piece together the schedule and challenging sometimes even to keep the center open, especially on a Saturday when people want to be out enjoying this beautiful weather with friends and family. So if there are people out there that are interested in birds and conservation in Montezuma and learning more, they can contact us at the center. We've got information about this opportunity and many others in the volunteer section of our website, which is montezuma.audubon.org.
And we will link to that one as soon as we get wrapped up here. Chris, thanks so much for coming in. As always, we will be talking to you when it's closer to fall and we can actually talk about fall in earnest at the end of August.
Great. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks for watching and listening to this episode of Inside the FLX. Check the show notes for links to everything we discussed today. And remember, new episodes of the show drop every Monday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the iHeartRadio app. If you have a question or a suggestion for a future episode, email news@fingerlakes1.com and download the fingerlakes1.com app for the latest breaking news. For the entire team here, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.